One of the most significant differences between elite runners and the rest of the running community is their stride, and in particular the recovery phase. If you do watch any world-class long-distance runners, you'll notice that their heel is almost kicking their bottom on every single stride. I want to find out why and whether there's something there that we could learn and benefit from too. Just recently, we witnessed Joshua Cheptegei breaking the 5K record, and admittedly he was running around 60 seconds per lap, which would be a sprint for pretty much anybody. But did you notice his stride and his recovery? Well, we could look at elite marathon runners to give us a slightly more fathomable pace. Well, even then, they're kicking their bottom on pretty much every single stride. So everything they do at that level is designed to either make them faster, more efficient, or a combination of both. So I want to know whether the high kick is a byproduct of something else they're doing in their stride, or whether it's even actually helping them to run faster. It's time for a bit of science. Fulcrums and levers. Don't worry, we're only going back to basic physics because anything beyond that, I'd be lost. So we're going to look first of all at the hip and the knee joint. And I know we're talking about what happens at the foot and the heel, but we need to move further up to actually address what's going on. So if you think about a fulcrum that's moving around the joint, which would be your hip, then the shorter the actual length of the lever, the easier it is to move from that fulcrum. So for this, to put it into sort of perspective, have a play with your arm. So you simply put your hand on your shoulder and try moving your elbow. That feels relatively easy. Now lengthen that whole lever, the fulcrum end being here, and try moving it, it's a lot harder. Well, the same is happening at your hip. So when your leg is coming through on the hip drive, if you think that when your knee is bent, it's actually making the lever shorter and therefore easier. And these elite runners aren't thinking, oh, I need to bring my heel up towards my bottom. They're just thinking, I need to get my leg through quickly. If you tried to run with your leg straight, you'd soon realize how difficult that is. And it's naturally, as you run faster, that angle, your knee is going to be more flexed and your heel is naturally going to be folded up further, making it easier to bring that leg through. Next time you're heading out for a run, why not mix things up and do a little bit of an experiment? So do some sprints or some strides and just notice how that feels, and you'll realize that your heel is naturally coming much higher to your bottom without you forcing it. It is hard to know how much of a kick you have when you're normal running, but if you're running in the mud or you're doing a cross-country race, then the amount of mud and how high it goes up your back can help to tell part of that story. Now, admittedly, we're not going to be running at the pace of elite runners, and we've determined that pace plays a part in how high you kick. But is there a way that we can actually increase the height of our kick without needing to run at that pace? Well, it does depend on a few factors. Well, back to a little bit more science for this one. So think of our hip joint as being a bit of a coil. So you've got your muscles and your tendons running over the front of your hip, and they work on elastic recoil. So when your hip is stretched or put into extension, it's naturally going to recoil forwards. So as you're running and you get to the end of each stride before your foot comes off the ground, that's putting your hip into more extension. The faster you're running and the larger the stride, the more that is going to be put into extension. So the more it's going to come through quickly to start with without actually needing any muscle to initiate it. It'll be happening naturally. So that's the hip. Then we need to focus at the knee joint. So picture your knee as being a completely floppy joint, so like basically a floppy hinge. If you move your thigh or the top part of the lever forwards fast, then naturally that bottom bit is just going to flick up behind, and the quicker you move that thigh and your hip joint forwards, the more the heel is going to snap up behind you. Some of you might be questioning what prevents hyperextension at the knee, because if you are flicking it forward so fast, it sounds like a recipe for disaster. But naturally your hamstring at the back of your leg is going to be reaching its full length, so that will be slowing down that movement. But also it's going to be starting to contract and engage because you're going to be getting ready to pull your foot back underneath you as part of the gait. And this might sound like you're going to lead to a heel strike from this kind of gait, but if you watch elite runners, most of them aren't running with a heel strike, and that's because of the forward lean. So if you look, they'll have a very slight lean going from their ankles all the way through up to their head slightly forwards, which is going to encourage more of a mid and forefoot landing. We've identified that a high kick goes hand in hand with running fast, but which comes first, and is it something that we mere mortals need to work on? Well, 40 years ago, Peter Kavanagh discovered that the closer your heel is to your body, the faster and the easier it is to run, and the more efficient your running will become. But there's got to be a line somewhere, as you don't see people bending their knees to walk faster or ultramarathon runners with a really high kick. And I don't actually know where that line is, because you're not going to be trying to do a high bottom kick when you're out for a jog. In actual fact, you don't really want to be even thinking about that part of your running. It's the front end of the stride that you actually want to pay more attention to. So the knee drive, for example, because the higher your knee is coming, the faster and further your thigh will naturally be moving, which will have more of an inertial force on your heel and causing more of a high natural kick. So next time there's a mass sporting event on television, whenever that might be, watch all the runners. And if you watch the elite runners and then compare them to, say, the 3-hour marathon runners and maybe the 4 to 5 hour marathon runners, you will notice a significant difference in the knee drive and, as a result, the heel kick. But as with any running gait analysis, you're always going to have outliers from the norm. And then you've also got triathletes, in particular Ironman athletes. Now, the top male pros are going to be running around 2:40 for a marathon, and the top women are running under 3 hours. So incredibly fast times, but you'll notice that their gait is different again. And this could be in part due to the fact they might have slightly tighter hips that are restricted from all the cycling, but also the effect of fatigue of cycling 112 miles beforehand. But I think that's a topic for another day. At the end of all of that, I just want to reiterate that a high kick is a byproduct of being fast and efficient as a runner. So ideally, it's best that you keep your priority focusing on your fitness and your form, as a high kick isn't something that can be forced. Hopefully you found this really interesting, you enjoyed it. Give us a like if you did. Remember, you can check out all of our social media channels, follow GTN there, and you can also subscribe here on YouTube.